So today is our last day, and I would like to start with questions and answers so that we finish them first, and then if something is left to emerge, it will emerge. So Urvashi, could you share with me your question on animals which you were asking me? I think it would be interesting for everyone.
So basically, my question is how do you deal with animal suffering?
How do you deal with animal suffering?
Yes. And the second part to the same question is if you notice someone, like if you notice someone troubling an animal, do you deal with it as a happening or do you do something about it, or how do you feel about that? Because in the past, I have taken action. So, like, henceforth, if I would, if there's a
If
better way.
someone is hurting an animal, you have
Yes.
taken action against
Against
that
the
person.
person, yes.
And your question is?
So how should I look at it with a fresher perspective, or if there's any other way that brings peace to me
Okay.
also?
So, why is one drawn to animals? You see, animals do not have a thinking mind. Humans do. When we are interacting with the human kingdom, we are wearing masks and we are playing roles. We don't need to impress an animal. So the animal for us represents pure being in action. The animal is operating on God-given instincts. Beyond that, there's nothing. So we are drawn to this because we know this, it is part of ourselves. It is that part of ourselves which we lost. And the animal allows us to get in touch with that part again. So one could say that having a pet, looking after animals and so on, is really tapping into that innocence which we lost. If you ask some people who have animals as pets, they might even say they prefer being with animals rather than humans. So it comes naturally to some people to look after animals. May not be to all. The other thing, as my teacher would say, is that the animal does not have the dubious gift of intellect that makes the human being ask questions. So, can you imagine you are with people and all of them are in a state of being, pure presence. It would be a joy to be with them. We don't get that. The animals are there for us. Now, having said that, there is a limitation. The human being is aware that it is aware. That is God's gift to the human being, which only the human being has been given. Now that gift comes with a deep responsibility in a sense. The human anatomy has a vertical spine. A vertical spine is also God's gift. In the animal kingdom, as such, this does not happen. The vertical spine represents many things. Heaven and earth is one example. Earth at the base, heaven at the top. It allows, one could call, to use a word, ascension. So it is a very rare gift to be given a human body. But we can live our lives in unawareness of this gift that is given to us, if that is the destiny. In the system of evolution, which is based on chakras, if one is following the path of Kundalini, chakras, and so on, the human kingdom begins where the animal kingdom ends. The animal kingdom ends at the Muladhara chakra, that is where the human kingdom begins, till the Sahasrara. So, it's very beautiful to take care of animals if one is built that way. The second part of your question, that if I find someone abusing an animal, what should I do? Earlier, I have been taking action against them. Should I be doing so? And the answer is astonishingly simple. If it is in your nature to take action, if you are built that way, if you have those resources at your disposal, by all means, someone may be an animal lover but may not be built that way, may not be having the ability to fight a battle with someone who's abusing animals, and so on. So there is no, what should I do? How has God made me? If I don't mind going to court, taking a battle somewhere, by all means do it. You have to do precisely that which you think and feel you should do. Now, someone else may not be able to do that. And my teacher would give this example very often in his satsangs of J. Krishnamurti, and I forget this Hollywood actress's name. Anyway, there was a video played in those days on television of dolphins coming to the shore and being clubbed to death. It was a practice in some European country. Two people watched the same film, documentary or whatever. One was J. Krishnamurti, the other was this actress. Now, both responded differently. The actress used her celebrity status, her contacts, and her wealth and started a Save the Dolphin movement. J. Krishnamurti, being someone of a very shy and timid nature, could not bear to see what he saw, as he says. He could not bear it, the pain was unbearable. So he got up and switched the TV off. For him it ended there. Why? It was not his nature to want to start a movement. So you see, the word should drops away, that someone should do this if they see that happening. Who are we to interfere in what they should do and should not do? We have to leave people to be themselves. And you have to decide, do I have the time? Do I have the resources? Do I have the temperament that if I see this happening, I can take this person to task? It is as simple as that. Does that help answer your question? Or would you like to ask something else, or is it clear?
No, it was very clear.
Once at Rameshji's satsang, one lady said she had come to this ashram, Ramana Maharshi's ashram. She was new to all this. And she said it was all quite overwhelming. And the minute she was told, when she was walking along the ashram grounds, that here is the samadhi of the cow, Lakshmi the cow, and the crow, and the dog, I think, which Bhagwan granted enlightenment to, she could not believe it. She said, this is the theatre of the absurd, and she ran away. But my estimation of this is, perhaps Bhagwan found it easier to grant enlightenment to the animal. It was unbelievable. I remember asking her, what has that got to do? Did you read any books? Did you imbibe any teachings? No, the window. As once I remember, I was with a yogi and his disciple said that this Maharani of so-and-so state is coming to see you, princess of whatever. And she came in all her splendor and with her assistants and all that. And he was very polite to her, offered her tea, coffee, and that was the end of the interaction. So they went back pretty disappointed. And when they left, he looked at us and said, Maharani's palace doors were closed. Maharani's palace doors were closed. So it helps to have an open mind because our intellect is so limited based on which we judge. Now, one more point. When you take someone to task for hurting an animal, is this understanding there that they are not the doers of their actions? What does that mean? I can see them harming the animal. They are the doers. At the level of appearance, most certainly. At the level prior to what is seen, there are many factors. For example, and I know this, someone who is abused as a child abuses an animal because they can take it out on the animal. That is one explanation I've given you. So when you know that you are not targeting an individual with your hate for what he has done, but you are putting in an action consequence loop so that he does not do it again, you are more concerned with the action rather than the one performing it. This creates a sense of objectivity in your approach to taking him to court. Otherwise, you will have too many people to hate. So when you realize people do what they do, the strangest thing, the weirdest thing, I have no idea why they do it. And I would never know what was their past about, what is going on in their minds. Then this whole taking people to task gets a different flavor. And more importantly, your peace of mind stays. Then you know, I will try my best to take this person to task, but I may succeed or I may not. So there's no frustration because you can't determine the outcome. So the whole ball game changes now. You may find now you can take many people to task. Earlier, one person was consuming all your energy. That you will know. Amazing. You know, there was a master called Manik Prabhu centuries ago. Even Sai Baba of Shirdi went to see him. He was outside Hyderabad. You know who would attend his satsangs? Animals. It is the only known account for me where animals were sitting in satsang before a human being. Of course, Bhagwan spoke to animals, Francis of Assisi communicated with animals, but animals satsang, I don't know. It's a first. Like, there was a wild elephant and Muktananda, Baba Muktananda. People were very scared of this elephant. It was very aggressive. He recognized who the elephant was. It was a sadhu whom he had known, who had not completed what he was meant to complete karmically. So he was enraged. He had incarnated as an elephant. And the only one he would be at peace in front of was Muktananda. I'm sure if you Google this story, you'll find it. Muktananda and the elephant. Lakshmi the cow was supposed to be a devotee of Bhagwan's who came back. That is why Bhagwan said it's not just a cow. It's not just a cow. He would not bear it if people were rude to animals, shoving them away, pushing them away. Once there was a group doing Giribalam and they saw 5 tigers on the road and they ran away straight to Bhagwan. They came because they were very scared and they said, this is what we saw. And Bhagwan very curiously asked, can you tell me exactly, were you all talking about something, were you all chanting? And he said, we were chanting the Samaveda. I think so, yeah. These are the experts here. And Bhagwan said, you are so silly, that I have added. Bhagwan didn't say silly. They had come, they were siddhas who had come in the form of animals to listen to your chanting. So we don't know. We don't know. Someone who attended the talks here last year has written a book. His path is japa, mala, chanting. So he sent me the book. He met his guru, a lady guru, which I'm very happy about when there are more and more women gurus. And his guru said to him, try and find an anthill. An anthill is a colony of ants. Try and find an anthill and feed the ants jaggery or whatever. So he was quite perplexed. You know, why an anthill? He said, because look at it this way. You do annadan, you do charity, you feed. How many sadhus will you feed? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50? If you feed an anthill, you are feeding millions of beings, and God sees each ant as one being. You are seeing it as an ant. Do we have that awareness? It is all about awareness. Siddha Rameshwar Maharaj had said you should not even kill mosquitoes, which is very hard not to do. So I was telling this to someone, that even that is a being, although an asuric being. I think the mother of Pondicherry said mosquitoes are an asuric force. So he said, I have worked out the perfect way to kill them. Before killing them, I say to them, I wish you a higher birth. Intention, right? Amazing. Amazing. Ghosts. Ghosts. Another form of beings, right? Is basically what? These are 5 sheets. What you're seeing is the food body, then is the pranic body, then is the mind, then is the intellect, then is the bliss body. So what happens is, if I am stuck to this plane with a lot of unresolved issues, desires, so on and so forth, I don't want to leave it. I lose the opportunity to merge into the light after death. So the door closes. Even they can be helped. Once I was in a place called Exeter in England, and by a series of coincidences, I met a real thorough gentleman who in his younger days had done a series for BBC. I forget the name. It was about finding ghosts, and especially in England, in a lot of these, World War II kind of locations. Anyway, that's the BBC part. So he told me he had the ability to see if there was someone around you from your past or someone who's passed on. So he said, we human beings are so fear-based. We get scared, oh, ghost. Because our nature is to be fear-based. And he told me, which I've shared sometimes, not in the public talks, but like this, is all we have to do is sit and recite the first words of the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the same it was in the beginning with God. You have to just recite that full verse. He said, you'll be amazed. He said he has seen it, how that spirit is released. That's all it takes. Someone who is mentioning the word of God to a disembodied being and is concerned about it and its welfare is all that is required. And he made me do it. I went somewhere, and I forget which cathedral, and in a chapel in the cathedral. And he gave me some pointers which I won't get into, but I did that practice. So you see, words, as Maharaj said, carry weight. Words carry weight. When words come out of the mouth, they land on the ground. Anything with weight has to land on the ground. It's not going to fly up in the air and defy gravity. So, the words we say, how we say them, the energy behind them, affects people. What you are seeing right now is the tip of the iceberg. But because that tip is so enchanting and mesmerizing, we forget. As Goldsmith would say, what about the infinite invisible? The infinite invisible. Yes.
టెన్ ఇయర్స్ బ్యాక్ ఆత్మదర్శనం ప్రసాదించానని బాబాని అడిగాను. బాబా ఏమన్నాడంటే ఏం చెప్పకుండా ధ్యానం చేస్తుంటే అదే కుండలిని జాగృతి మూలాధార చక్రం నుంచి ఒక అనంత శక్తి అరక్షణలో వీటి కొట్టింది. ఇక్కడ ఉన్నవాడిని అట్లా వచ్చి కింద పడి ఒక అగ్ని సముద్రంలో ఉంచినట్టుంది నాకు ఫీలింగ్. ఆ రోజు నుంచి భయపడి బాబా మళ్ళీ ఎక్కువ సాధన చేస్తే ఎన్నో గ్రంథాలు చదువుకుంటా అప్పుడు ఆత్మదర్శనం ప్రసాదించి ఇప్పుడు వద్దులేని చెప్పాను. ఇంకొకసారి ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు కలగాలని సాధన తీవ్రం చేస్తున్నందుకు అప్పుడప్పుడు పౌర్ణమి రోజు ఇక్కడ బాగా నొప్పి పెడుతుంది, విపరీతమైన నొప్పి, సహస్ర చక్రం. అప్పుడు ఇది పగిలిపోతున్నట్టు అని మహాభయం పడుతుంది.
So he's been in sadhana since last 13 years.
How old is he?
How old are you? Age enta?
నాకు 16, 15.
16 years old.
How old is he?
16.
He's been in sadhana for how many years?
10 years, I think.
12 సంవత్సరాలు.
12 years.
Out of 16 years, he has been in sadhana for 12 years. I don't think that makes
Me
sense.
age ఇప్పుడు 16 years.
28.
Oh, sorry. He's 28 now. Immediately after his 10th standard, he wanted to seek.
No. When he was 16 years old, did something happen?
Yeah, there's an experience which happened to him
Yes, can you
where
tell me?
energy has risen from Muladhara to Agni. It shooted up and then he just flew and fell on the
Energy shot.
yeah, energy shot from Muladhara to Agna and he just fell off. He jumped and fell off somewhere.
It shoved him
Yeah, it shoved him.
and threw him away
Yeah.
somewhere.
చేతులు లాక్లోనే ఉన్నాయి.
Yeah, the hands were locked but his body fell a little away.
And where did this happen?
ఎక్కడ జరిగింది ఇది?
మా ఇంట్లో
In his house.
In his house.
Yeah.
Did it happen while he was praying?
సాధారణ ప్రేయర్ ఏమైనా చేస్తున్నారు అప్పుడు?
బాబా సాయి నన్ను ఆత్మదర్శనం ప్రసాదించారు.
So he was praying to Baba saying that I want to know myself. Please provide me Atma Sakshatkara.
So at this time, when he was about 16, he was praying to Sai Baba, who he considers his guru.
Yes.
And at that time, the energy shot up from the base of the spine to the top of the head and it threw him off.
Yes.
Okay.
And he had intense fear as to what was happening and his
Certainly.
whole body was on fire. He felt like he was sitting in fire.
Okay.
ఇక్కడి వరకు నాకు గుర్తుంది.
Can I just backtrack a bit?
Sure.
What made him choose Sai Baba as his guru and when did he choose Sai Baba as his guru?
సాయిబాబాని గురువులా ఎప్పుడు అనుకున్నారు, ఎందుకు అనుకున్నారు?
12 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం నుంచి బాబాను గురువుగా భావించి నాకు ఆత్మ సాక్షాత్కారం ప్రసాదించారు.
ఎందుకు అని అడుగుతున్నారు? వై సాయిబాబా?
అంటే మొత్తం మీద ఏమీ తెలియదు కానీ ఎంతో ప్రేమ పుట్టింది, ఆకర్షణ. ఇంకా ఎన్నో ఆ నామాన్ని రాత్రి పూట ఒక 7-8 గంటలు బాబా ముఖం చూస్తూ ధ్యానం చేసేవాడిని. ఒక అట్లా చూస్తూ సాయి 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 అనుకుంటా
He has felt intense attraction towards Sai Baba's face and eyes. So he used to chant his name all through the night.
All through the night?
Night out of love. So
Before he was 16?
yes.
From what age?
చిన్నప్పటి నుంచేనా?
చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి కాదు, మధ్యలో 10th క్లాస్ నుంచి టచ్.
From 10th standard he started doing that.
చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి దేవుళ్ళ పుస్తకాలు చదవడం, గుళ్ళు చూడడం వల్ల నాకు సహస్రార చక్రం అదిరేది. అంటే ఎన్నో కదలికలు వచ్చింది.
Yeah.
భగవద్గీత వింటూ ఉంటే నా ప్రమేయం లేకుండా ఆ చోటుకి వెళ్ళి కూర్చొని వినుకుంటా ఉండేవాడిని.
10th standard నుంచి.
7th నుంచి 6th నుంచి.
From 6th standard he had this longing to find out what is self and Atma.
And today, what is the situation today?
So today, that's what he's talking about, the intense fear rising and he's not able to understand what to do.
No, after that experience where the energy threw him off, till today, what has he done?
అప్పటి నుంచి ఇప్పటివరకు ఏం చేశారు? అలా పడేసింది కదా.
అప్పటి నుంచి కూడా అనేక సాధనలు చేస్తున్నాను. అంటే బాబా నామాన్ని ఇప్పటికి కూడా పుణ్యకర్మలు సత్కర్మలు ఇవన్నీ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు మళ్ళీ అది ఇది పగిలిపోతున్నట్టు ప్రతి పౌర్ణమి రోజు ఇక్కడ బాగా నొప్పి ఉంటుంది.
He's still continuing to worship Baba and chants his name. So recently, during Paurnami days, he's started feeling intense pain in Sahasra area.
Intense pain.
Intense pain. He's unable to bear it, and he's getting a fear that he'll die. So he's asking what.
He gets a fear that he'll die.
Yeah.
Because of the sadhana.
Yes.
Yes.
So he wants to know what should he do, and sometimes his body is on fire.
Body is on fire.
Yeah.
See, it is obviously very clear that if at a young age he is drawn to a particular master, that master is his guru. That is established. What has happened is he has received a form of Shaktipat by the grace of the master. The body has not been prepared for it. That is why the energy threw him off. He is lucky he didn't get hurt or fractured. Some people have had to go in for surgery. So that is a very good thing that he stopped. Okay? You see, there's a problem with Shaktipat also. While it is a gift, if there are blockages in the body, in the chakras, this energy is going to create trouble. So the body is certainly not prepared. Over time, it will be prepared.
So right now, he's not able to contain the energies.
Yes, so he should reduce the sadhana.
Okay.
That is why I keep saying the middle path. Don't do too much excess. When you are realizing it's having an impact on the body, it means the body is not a pure vehicle yet. So he has to decide how much is the chanting he's doing, what all else he's doing in terms of sadhana, and he has to temper it down and lead a normal life. The sheer fact that he's getting pain here means this still needs to be worked on. So there's no point continuing the sadhana and keeping the pain there all the time. He has to
Slow
down a bit and trust that since he had this feeling at such a young age, it will take care of him. What he could do if he hasn't done it is two things, or rather visit two places. One is if he hasn't been to Shirdi, he should go to Shirdi, where is the Samadhi shrine of Sai Baba. The other is, since he is in Tiruvannamalai, for him the bridge becomes Narsimha Swami, because Ramana Maharshi asked and in fact said to Narsimha Swami that your guru is Sai Baba.
Yes.
So Narsimha Swami's Samadhi is in Chennai, right?
I don't know.
I think so. If you can Google it and find out. And he can go and sit there and offer this issue at the feet of the masters. They will take care of it. He must tone down his sadhana and prevent all these things from happening. Otherwise, he will suffer.
Okay. He should not be here in Tiruvannamalai.
No, he can be here. I don't know what his sadhana is, which is causing all this. Like you said, he chants through the night and all that. You have to ask him. There's no problem being here. But he has to see what all he is doing in excess, which is leading to all this. And if he can, he should visit these samadhis.
Sure. I'll tell him.
You will tell him that,
I'll tell him.
right? And he had one more question, I think.
ఇంకేమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నాయా ఇద్దరు?
నేను ధ్యానం చేశాను. ఎక్కువ శ్వాస ముసలు కొడుతుంది, ఒక పాము లాగుతుంటే ఎక్కువ ఇది గదంలో పడుతుంది, అంత ఎక్కువ వస్తుంది. అట్లా చేస్తున్న ఒక 20 నిమిషాల వరకు విపరీతమైన వేడి పుట్టి శ్వాస లెవెల్స్ పెరుగుతాయి. తర్వాత నిశ్చలంగా అయిపోతుంది.
ఓన్లీ శ్వాస మీద బ్రీతింగ్, ఇంకేం లేదు.
నేను
సాధన ఇంకేం లేదు.
సాయి ముందని సాయి నామమే జపం చేస్తా, సాయి. కానీ శ్వాస విపరీతంగా పెరుగుతుంది.
అంటే పాము సౌండ్ వచ్చినట్టు వస్తుంది.
ఈ గదంలో వస్తుంది కూర్చుంటే,
అంత పెద్ద సౌండ్
ఎక్కువ అట్లా వస్తుంది. అందుకని నేను రూమ్ లోనే చేసుకుంటా ఎక్కువ వేడి వచ్చి.
Those who don't have experience must be very jealous of this. You must be really like, damn.
So when he's doing dhyana, generally his dhyana is he focuses his mind on Sai Baba and he focuses on the breath as well. So when he's breathing, his breathing becomes very fast. As in the sound is like the sound of a snake, which is doing the hissing sound.
That is the Kundalini.
Yeah, it's very high. It seems if he does this now, the entire hall would reverberate with that sound.
Yeah, so you tell him that he has to slow down the process. There's a lot of time in his case.
అప్పుడు ఎంత సుఖంగా ఉంటుందంటే వర్ణించలేని సుఖం.
He cannot describe the amount of bliss that time.
కానీ ఓ అర్ధగంట సేపు మాత్రం చాలా వేడి, భయము, అశాంతి ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి.
That's all. అంతగా చెప్తాను మీకు.
Tell him that the body must be taken care of. Otherwise, there can be a short circuit. Let me warn you, or rather warn him.
చిన్న ఏజ్లోనే మీకు ఇవన్నీ జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఓకే, అంటే మీ బాడీకి ఇంకా రెడీగా లేదు అవన్నీ యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయడానికి. ఎనర్జీస్ చాలా హై అయిపోతున్నాయి. సో మీ సాధన కొంచెం స్లో డౌన్ చేయాలి. మీరు రోజు చేసేది అతిగా చేస్తున్నారు, ఫ్యూచర్లో డేంజర్ అయిపోతుంది, షార్ట్ సర్క్యూట్ అలా అయిపోతుంది అంటున్నారు. కొంచెం తగ్గించమంటున్నారు. నార్మల్ లైఫ్ ఎలా లీడ్ చేస్తారో అది చేయమని.
What you want will happen. It will take time. You need to cooperate. You don't want to be a vegetable walking around Arunachala and mumbling to yourself. It will take time. But I was more interested in the question on tea, because even I like tea. You had a question on tea.
టీ మీద ఒక క్వశ్చన్ అడిగాను. ఏమవుతుంది?
టీ తాగడం రోజు అలవాటు. అన్నం తినబుద్ధి కాదు, కానీ ఒక పూట తిన్నా ఎక్కువ 10-20 టీలు తాగుతాను. టీ తాగుతుంటే మనసు ఇచ్చినప్పుడు.
He's telling he doesn't feel like eating much, but he wants to have 10-20 cups of chai.
He's addicted to tea.
And whenever he's having tea, he's...
Milk tea or without milk? Chamomile tea or...
సో అది తాగుతుంటే మనసు నిశ్చయం అవుతుంది.
మనసు ఇచ్చినందుకు నూతనంగా అవుతుంది.
When he's drinking tea, he's having good experience, that his mind is calmed down and he's feeling fresh and very happy with...
Because tea has caffeine.
టీలో ఉంటుంది కదా కాఫీ.
మా గురువు చాలా
Let's be practical here.
టీ ఎక్కువ తాగేవాడు.
He's telling he's a guru in Himalayas and he used to drink only tea.
Okay, but everyone wants to know which tea has it.
Milk tea.
But we want the brand so we can buy it.
The Ramana shop, అక్కడేనా టీ తాగేది? Same అదేనా? ఆ పక్కన. So there's one more tea shop diagonal to Ramana Ashram, opposite Seshadri Swami. That's where he is.
See, there are two things here. Tea gives him comfort, okay? And addiction is an imbalance. I'll give you this. Most of y'all might know about Ramakrishna and mangoes. He used to enjoy mangoes, and one day his wife told him, someone like you, who people worship as God, is addicted to mangoes. And he said, be careful, because the day I stop eating mangoes, I will be gone in 3 days from there. It is holding me down. So, the tea is holding him down, but it has become an addiction. See, the body-mind complex, in order to compensate for what is going on the spiritual dimension, needs something at the physical dimension. In his case, you can see how the extremes are operating.
Right.
The middle path is not there. Now, what can he do about it? Because if the desire is there, you cannot suppress it. It's foolish of me to tell him, have only 5 cups. What he can do is offer each cup of tea to his Guru Shirdi Sai Baba and talk to his Guru in his mind and say, I have this issue with tea, and next time he drinks the tea, let him drink it. Let the drinking tea fall off on its own. And when he offers it to the Guru, What is the Guru? I keep reiterating this point. The Guru is not an individual. The Guru is consciousness. The Guru is the higher self. So what is happening? He is no longer drinking tea as an individual. He is offering it to the higher self, and let the higher self take care of the addiction. Or then you take the Nisargadatta Maharaj approach. When someone told him you're addicted to smoking, he replied, you're addicted to not smoking. All right?
మీరు వ్యక్తిగతంగా తాగుతున్నారు కానీ మీరు తాగే ముందు షిరిడి సాయిబాబాకి ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ ప్రసాదంలో టీ పెట్టండి చెప్పేసి ఆయన చెప్పండి ఇలా నాకు ఉంది ప్రాబ్లం చెప్పేసి షిరిడికి వెళ్తే వెళ్ళమన్నారు. ఇంకో సమాధి ఉంది బీవీ నరసింహ స్వామి సమాధి.
That is why, the support of the Guru is very essential on the spiritual path. We cannot do it on our own. Not the physical Guru. Again and again I'm saying that.
ప్రాబ్లం ఏం లేదు, బలవంతంగా ఆపొద్దని చెప్పారు. అది ఆటోమేటిక్గా.
All right. Would anyone else like to share anything about the experience here for 3 days or ask any question?
JK just discouraging the Guru.
Sorry?
Why J. Krishnamurti always discourages to gurus actually?
J. Krishnamurti discouraged
Gurus.
Yes, because you know what his experience was, how much he was tortured.
Yes.
So his belief was, you don't need a guru. You are your own guru. That was his message. Now that message may appeal to you. So you follow J. Krishnamurti's teachings. Or it may not appeal to you and you feel you need a guru.
But sometimes we confused actually.
Yes, sometimes, and we get confused when we cross-pollinate teachings. So which teaching or which teacher or whatever, which wisdom tradition has appealed to you the most, you follow that. Do you know what has appealed to you the most, or you're still exploring and finding different things?
To be very truthful, I am in between Maharshi Ramanna and J. Krishnamurti. Still searching.
So at least you know it's restricted to both of them.
Yes.
And you'll find your answer. Let the answer find you. There is one, I would perhaps use the word disadvantage of Krishnamurti's approach. My sense is he's pointing to the Sadguru within, which cannot happen without the Guru without. The disadvantage is, and maybe I mentioned it yesterday, so pardon me if I'm repeating it. As Osho said, the true surrender happens when we bow down before somebody else. Because in that act, what is being offered is the ego at the feet of the master who represents God. That is the surrender. And on the level of energy, you will be surprised. Because I know someone who has seen what happens when this takes place at the physical level. The energy is strongest at the feet of the master. For what reason? There's a reason for that. That is why if you see many ashrams, when the Guru drops the body, they take a photograph of the feet of the Guru and display it. So when the head is in the space of the feet, it is not about touching the feet. It is the energy at the feet of the Master. It receives the biggest transmission. People don't know this. We just follow one another and keep doing that, and some really claw at the feet of the Master. All that is not required. Because feet and head, where are they the closest? When I offer my head to someone else's feet. So there's a esoteric science behind this. We see it at the superficial level. You know, in Sufism, they'll go to the grave of the Master and hug the grave in a way you have not seen before. It's not like going to your grandmother's grave and just holding the tombstone or something. And they perform their zikr at the grave. I have seen it. Why? Dead body. No. Masters, some of their pran shakti is kept at where they are buried. It is there. That is why Manik Prabhu, speaking on behalf of many masters, his is also Sanjeevani Samadhi, going in alive. He said, my subtle body will bless whoever comes to my Samadhi. So you have to delve deeper into Krishnamurti if you enjoy it, delve deeper into Ramana Maharshi if you enjoy it, and reach your own decision whether Krishnamurti's way suits my temperament or Ramana Maharshi's way suits my temperament. Right?
What happened? You mentioned he was tortured. I'm not aware.
Google. We have limited time here.
Yeah, I saw.
Let us hear about what's happening with you. Would you like to share?
Sure, why not? Something interesting happened yesterday. So, a couple of weeks back, I was sitting with, Mahesh Balsekar, of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's a good friend of Dad's, my dad's. So I was sitting with Mahesh uncle and Dad, and we were just talking.
Ramesh Balsekar's nephew, right?
Yeah. So we were just talking, and my dad was of the opinion that this whole spirituality business is all about the delusion of the ego. And I actually coincidentally said the same thing that you mentioned yesterday during your talk, right? I said the ego can't get rid of the ego. The ego can't want the ego to disappear. It's a paradox. But then when you started yesterday's talk, you started it by saying that this business about getting rid of the ego is BS. So my ego instantly went, it was like I was observing. So it instantly was like, I need to show my dad this talk. I was right. And then through the talk, it evolved in such a beautiful way that I realized that I need to be pointing fingers back at myself, and that showing him anything is not relevant.
Yeah, beautiful. Showing anyone anything is not relevant unless they ask you.
Exactly.
Why?
Expressing your opinion is okay. What they do with it is nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that famous saying, right? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's also interesting that, Mahesh uncle happens to come over a lot. Once in a few months at least he comes over. And I always tend not to be there when he's there, or either I'm in my room doing some work, or I'm not at home. But then a couple of weeks back, so I used to listen to a lot of Nisargadatta Maharaj and Mahesh Balsakar's talk when I was about 15, 16. But I never sort of reacquainted myself again recently. I've just been listening to some of your discourses on YouTube. Then that day when Mahesh uncle came over, I just happened to walk into the living room and sit down for I don't know what reason, which happened to be a few weeks before this retreat. And that conversation, Mahesh uncle, when we finished the conversation, he said, "Oh, this conversation reminded me of one of Ramesh's talks. I'll send you a link, why don't you listen to it?" So it was like...
That's how it happens.
Exactly.
It happens on its own.
It just comes. You don't have to...
It doesn't need your help.
Yeah.
But are we receptive enough to receive it?
Yeah.
Receive the happening.
Yeah. And then I went and watched a bunch of his talks, and it was needed for me as a primer to this retreat.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So are you more at peace generally than you were before, or is that not really your focus right now?
Honestly, fortunately for me, other than... so, again, your talks have been exactly what I've needed. Right? My whole life I've already been of a peaceful sort of temperament.
Your nature has been...
Except with my parents.
Ah.
That's the only main point. With everyone else, I've always just been like this naturally. Like, let people do what they want, let them say what they want. It's not my problem, it's not my business, it doesn't matter. Say something about me, it's your problem. Your problem with me, then it's your problem. So, I've always been of that disposition, but then like you said, like it's the only time it matters is when you apply it where it doesn't apply in your life.
Okay.
So it is exactly what I needed to hear.
Okay. So all the best.
Thank you.
With your parents. May it be resolved in peace and harmony.
Thank you. Thanks to you, it probably will.
Oh man. You see, sorry, but it just reminded me of something, and if I may, where's our Portugal Queen? If I may just share something with them, if you don't mind. It's about following signs and, seeing how things are flowing spontaneously. Now, in her experience, she had a dream in which I came and said to come to India. Okay? It doesn't mean I have any siddhis or nothing of that. This was her dream. So she wanted to come. It wasn't working out for various factors. She had a friend who was wanting to come along. Friend backed out. So she decided it's not meant to be. Then she had a second dream in which I said, I was in Portugal, it seems, in the dream, and I said that you have to come to India for a talk. Right? Now let's talk about dreams and signs in dreams. And I don't have book knowledge. I have been fortunate to spend time with two masters of the dream state. So I represent her own higher self. So maybe something she saw on YouTube, something she read, she connected with, and the form happened to be mine. And so the higher self is telling her, please come to India, right? It doesn't work out. Then the higher self comes again, and I am being driven in a car in the dream by a lady wearing red shoes with high heels. It's very important. Everything in the dream state has utmost significance. We may think it's absurd, it's foolish, but everything has significance, and goes up the stairs asking her to follow. Am I right so far, in a nutshell? What is it? The lady is the Divine Mother. Stairs up, stairs are not going down, is ascension. Why red shoes? Red is the color of Shakti. So obviously the dream state presented red shoes with high heels to catch her attention. So everything is symbolic. Everything is symbolic, and therefore she gave herself the opportunity. I didn't. Her own higher self gave herself the second opportunity to make the trip. And I do tell people, because not many talk about the dream state, that it has tremendous gifts to give. Because why? The conscious mind is not functioning in the dream state. Identified consciousness is, there are three states: deep sleep, dream, and waking state. Deep sleep is impersonal consciousness. You don't know that you exist. Impersonal. There is no person. And dream state and waking state is identified consciousness. So you could say the dream state is in between. It's a gateway. So there's no such thing as not paying notice and relevance to dreams because it's a dream. This is the dream. This is the living dream of life.
You wake up from and you die, I suppose.
That is the famous Zen saying, that we will wake up when we are dead. So how can we say the dream state is not as relevant as the waking state? Isn't it absurd? This is the absurd state. Everything is so transient. What bothered you 2 months ago is not bothering you now.
Came up when I was a kid, I used to wonder, like, when you're dreaming, you only realize you're out of the dream once you wake up. Right? Why do I really do this?
Yes. And awakening is waking up from this living dream of life.
Precisely.
Awakening is waking up from this living dream of life. That is awakening. When I see this, in simple terms, nothing fancy, everyone is playing their role in life. Nobody is the doer of their actions. There's a higher power operating which knows what it is doing. I have no clue what it is doing. It seems unfair to me. I am out of the living dream of life. When I have nobody to blame, nobody to hate, nobody to condemn, I am out of it. When my me center based on doership is no longer as strong as it used to be, I'm out of the dream. Someone asked Siddharameshwar Maharaj, what is Maya? And he gave a 3-word answer. He didn't say the world is Maya. He said, Maya is me. As they say, don't let anyone else ruin your life or your day because you can do a perfect job yourself. Which is what the me does. It ruins your day. Anxious, depressed, sad, sorrowful, hateful. Ruined day. The me has obliterated this day. That which obliterates the day has to be obliterated, which is the sense of doership. Then the me is functioning as the functional element in daily living. Relationships with people, relationship with what happens in my life, relationship with myself. It is reduced to that. Anyone else?
Quick question on the same topic. I think you just sort of preempted what thought I had.
Can you speak little louder?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah. So I think I had this thought running since yesterday. I think you just preempted the thought that the question I wanted to ask. So I think you just talked about the sense of doership, right, Gautam? So probably both ego and sense of doership are interconnected in a large way, I would think, because ego is all about me and my sense of I-ness and me being there all the time, and doership is also about I doing certain things in my own way, and the sense of I do this, I do that, and things like that. So is there a possibility that if the sense of doership is minimized or reduced or eliminated in whatever sense, the ego also would reduce to the same degree, or are these two sort of detached or
the ego is
exclusive?
Defined by its sense of doership. When the sense of doership is removed, as Ramana Maharshi said, it is like the remnants of a burnt rope which cannot be used to tie anything. So, for example, if someone called out Bhagwan's name, he would respond. He is not a zombie, right? A vegetable. Yes, what can I do for you? That is the ego operating as the functional element. But the sense of doership was gone. Obviously, it would if he was abiding in the self all the time. Where's the question of the sense of doership? Yet, he would go cut vegetables in the kitchen, guide people. That was the ego in operation, functioning in daily living.
So basically, ego can't go out completely as long as you are alive.
Ego has to be there.
Has to be there.
Has to be there. What is the definition of ego? Identification of name and form as a separate entity. He did not point to him and say, he is Ramana Maharshi, I am Ramana Maharshi. Identification with name and form as a separate entity which goes when the body is dead. It cannot go prior to that. So what can go prior to that? The sense of doership in the ego.
Because in Sachdeva, Baba says that surrender your ego to me. So what would that really mean?
He means surrender the sense of doership. In simple terms. I was telling someone at the start of the retreat, I don't know who, they asked me, what have I seen lately on YouTube? And I said, I saw predictions for the year 2024. Predictions for the year 2024 and 2025 and 2026. And there was this old wise astrologer, long white beard, very old. And he was being interviewed. I'm not going to tell you all what his predictions were, but they are not the best. Okay? So the interviewer asked him, now that you have said all this will happen, what can we do about it? What can we do, D-O, do about it? And his answer was, the only thing we can do is be at peace with what happens. And I'll never forget something else which touched me was in Paul Brunton's book, A Search in Secret India, where he said he went to, at that time, India's greatest astrologer in Varanasi and studied under him. And then he asked his master at the end of the whole training, do you read your own horoscope? And he replied that the day I started accepting the total will of God, I stopped reading my horoscope.
I want to ask my aunt's son.
Your aunt's son?
He is 31 years. He's a special child. So he's at bed. Everything is on bed. He has bed sores. He's in bad state. So sometimes I go and I stand out of the room because...
I can't hear you clearly.
Sorry?
Can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, so when I go and see, my Mossi tells me, Andar aake milo. But I feel so small and so I feel very bad. So I just stand out of that room door and I pray for him and that's it. But I see why so much of suffering. He cannot talk, no mom, he just eat whatever my aunt gives, like mixture, anything, and he's on the bed. It's been 31 years.
31 years,
Yeah.
he's a special child lying in bed with bed sores.
Bed sores and
suffering.
everything, yeah. And we all mothers pray for our children. My aunt prays that God should take him away.
Sure.
But why so much suffering and still that God, Baba is not taking him and still he's suffering?
You think you'll get the answer to that?
Sorry?
You think you'll get the answer to why is God making him suffer?
I don't understand, but my auntie always says that why don't you pray? Everybody, whenever anyone comes to visit, pray for God should take him.
Okay, so that's all you can do, right? All you can do is pray that God should take him.
But
Now this why is God not taking him? How do we know? How do we know the karmic pacts parents and children come with? How do we know the storehouse of prarabdha karma? Who are we to ask why? That is why my teacher said, a painting can never ask the painter why it painted it. We are created objects in manifestation asking for the will of the source. Jesus Christ was crucified in extreme pain and he said, God, why hast thou forsaken me? What have I done? I am your son. And then the next realization was, not my will, O Lord, but thine be done. So what happens? It's a very painful situation that you've described. It is natural to wish that this child does not suffer like this. That is natural. But the why question, which creates all this psychological suffering, drops. Not my will, O Lord, but thine be done. Do you know, Asha here has a friend. Her husband went for some, I forget now, was it some surgery or something? Or he had a fall and he injured the doctor made a mistake and he was bedridden for 27 years. And the wife, for 27 years, decided to look after the husband. 27 years. She didn't step out. She didn't ask why. She was immersed in her spiritual practice, which is the Gayatri Mantra sadhana. She did ask why towards the end when he was really suffering. And her mentors and her group, a group of a sangha you could say, said, trust that all your practice, all your sadhana, there's a reason for it. That's all you can do. And her husband passed away on Guru Purnima. So, this why, not just in this extreme situation, in all situations, we find that we stop asking why. Too much of life doesn't make sense. How much more are you going to ask why? Why me? Why did God do this to me? Why does this happen? Can you imagine the absurd ending to Joan of Arc? Imagine if you were Joan of Arc. Firstly, you hear a voice of the Archangel Michael saying, as a young girl, mind you, there's a sword lying in so and so place, pick it up and lead France to war. Lead the whole country, if you please. And she goes to the young Dauphin, the young ruler of France, and somehow, don't ask how, finds a way through into his hall and presents herself and says, I've had this voice of the archangel. And his advisors tell him, we have nothing to lose, we're already losing. Absurd situation. Girl from the village hears the voice of God, follows it, wins the first battle, loses some battles, and eventually is through deceit captured and tried for heresy, if you please, and burnt at the stake. And so it is believed that, at least the records I have read, when she is being burnt on the stake, she asks this question to Jesus. She used to carry a banner with Jesus Maria written on it, whom she referred to as the King of Heaven. She was still young. I think she was 19 years old, if I'm not mistaken, when she was burnt at the stake. That you put voices in my head. She tells the archangel, I listen to your voice and you are burning me at the stake. Me, who has followed your command. And then it is believed she went quiet and they asked her, what is your last request? And she said, my Lord is Jesus. My request is when the flames are consuming me, I should still be able to see a cross as my last vision on earth. So if you can hold a cross high up where I can see it, I would be grateful. What does that mean? In spite of this end, she had faith. Not my will, O Lord, but thine be done. And do you know that they burnt the stake, they fired it up twice to make sure that she was completely dead? Crazy, absolutely crazy. This is the history of the world. This is the history of the world. The sense of separation, the hatred. I'm sorry if this is a bit boring, but this is what comes out. Sometimes I repeat stories because I like them a lot, because of the meaning they convey. The hand of destiny is a very strange one. I remember I was very fond of the Alan Parsons Project. They made a lot of music albums in the 80s, I think. And there was one line in a song which says, "The game never ends till your whole world depends on the turn of a friendly card." That friendly card ain't happening. So rather than be invested in a possible future, it is about the present moment.
I'm just going to share, it's not a question, because I remember when I was a child, I had asthma, and it was my mother said that since I was 3 months age, and my normal state was being in crisis. Many times I was taken to hospital, and she tried different treatments and so on. And I saw my parents suffered a lot. I saw their suffering. But inside of me, I could not understand why they were suffering so much, because I felt like I was not suffering. So, I mean, it's not an extreme situation, but sometimes, it's not us. Maybe it's for them, I don't know.
Yes.
And then I got cured when I was 15. I remember one story in Sai Baba's book, and about a couple that went there because they had a blind child, and they wanted to ask Sai Baba to cure. Actually, it was not one child, but two children. They were blind. And a devotee of Sai Baba asked for them, because Sai Baba didn't even give interview to them. And his devotee that was very close interfered, asked Baba to receive them. And Baba refused and said that the story is that the family was very beautiful. The couple were beautiful. The children, they say they were very beautiful, like a perfect family, but the children were blind. And Baba explained to this devotee that situation was for the parents.
Yes.
And that he shouldn't get worried, because the children would be happy that he guaranteed that. So sometimes, no, it's like that. We don't know. It's mystery of life.
There's a book which I had read, which we've also published. It's called Your Soul's Plan. Your Soul's Plan, where the author regresses. He has taken, I think, 10 case studies, extreme situations, like he's taken an alcoholic, he's taken someone who was a victim of a terror attack, and regressed them to the pre-birth state, not to the previous birth, the pre-birth state. And they are fascinating accounts. In one, which is the alcoholic is told he will play the role of the alcoholic, and the caregivers will play the role of the caregivers, because they have lessons to learn about relationships and giving care, and that will be their role assigned to them. And so everything is mapped out. Whose role will be what in the pre-birth state. So the learning is for everyone, but we have different things to learn. So for example, at a simple level, if you don't get along with someone in your family, whether it is a parent or whether the parent does not get along with the child, both have come with a predetermined blueprint to learn certain life lessons. And the karma will play out till those lessons are learned. It is not only about that one person. It is about the karmic group around that person. Everyone is in a relationship of give and take. This wheel of karma keeps turning and stops when the person who is caught on the wheel realizes that karma itself by definition means pure action. It is the sense of doership which perpetuates the karma, which makes pure action, action and reaction, action and reaction, action and reaction, and then we get lost. That is when the wheel of karma stops. And then you have what is apparently the spiritual group which evolves together over incarnations. It keeps coming back to learn about the spiritual dimension. That is a different story, because that is not hardwired give and take karma, which is family karma. At the center of that wheel of karma is the Guru. So in this case, Satya Sai Baba was quite right. The children have come blind, they'll be taken care of. But the parents have a lesson to learn.
We discussed earlier that life has no purpose. So why do we have to learn lessons?
Can you say that again?
Life has no purpose but the living of it, right? That's what Ramesh ji said.
There are different definitions. Ramana Maharshi said the purpose of life is to realize the self. Ramesh ji simplified it, and instead of using these words said the purpose of life is the living of it in peace and harmony. And that actually is realizing the self.
But do we have to learn lessons to realize the self?
Ramana Maharshi himself said, it is only after the first blow in life, if not the first, the second, if not the second, the third, if not the third, the fourth, that you come on to the spiritual path. These are lessons. Otherwise, you would not incarnate.
But we don't know if we reincarnate or not, right? That's an assumption. It's not really clear.
Sorry?
We don't know if we reincarnate or not.
Obviously, you're not in charge. How will you know?
So that's a theory, right? That's not a fact. How do we know that? There's no way we would know anyway.
Exactly, because everything is in a conceptual world happening. But what does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
So what is the question?
No, the question is it seems as if we have to learn our lessons to get to a certain place.
Yes.
But
Because
then again,
if we don't, it is our own experience that we suffer psychologically. Someone was mentioning here how close therapy is to this teaching. But there's a bridge it can't cross. What is the reason and need for therapy is to end the psychological suffering. The spiritual dimension provides the opportunity to end the psychological suffering. Otherwise, carry your story to your grave. My parents did this to me, this one said that to me. Keep going, no one's stopping you.
So all lessons are to end suffering. That's it. There's nothing more than that.
Yeah. Look, in school, if you study a lesson, once you've studied it and understood it, do you need to study it again? If we look at it in the scale of our lives, lessons, once they all learned, you don't need to come back to school. Unless you want to keep coming back, or out of compassion, you come back to teach others.
I want to ask, like, there's one thing, I mean, like, I get it, but something about it seems off. It's like when people are affected in certain ways by things that were done with the right intention, but happened to be done wrong. For example, me and Mio, that they were talking about, he was telling me, like, the pronunciation of mantras is very important, wherein there is instances when people were prone to chanting mantras, but for whatever reason they were chanting it wrong, right? So their intention was always clear. And yet, for whatever reason, they had the wrong source of information or whatever, and they were chanting it wrong.
Sure.
So, I mean, I get that that too is coming to them for some reason, which we can't question.
Yeah.
But those are situations which are harder to reconcile than, say, something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, if my intention as an engineer is to build a bridge, I have a very pure intention, right? But if I've not studied engineering or I'm not an expert at building bridges, I make a bridge which collapses after 2 months. Pure intention. But execution is part of the manifest world.
It's like anything else.
Pronunciation in mantras is extremely important because a mantra is a vibration. Mantra.
Correct.
Man is mind. Tra. Freeing the mind. How do you free the mind? How does the mantra free the mind? Because if I'm chanting the mantra all the time, my attention is shifting from the thinking mind to the mantra. Mantra is a vibration. So if instead of Om Namah Shivaya, I'm saying like Om Nami Shivo, it's going to have a different impact. I gave the example yesterday of the word attack. Attack is a mantra. It's a force, attack. And if I just stretch it out in the duration of time, nobody is going to attack. You see? So it's a science. So intention is fine, but it doesn't mean you're going to go straight to heaven. Like as someone asked about vegetarian and non-vegetarian food on the first day. As Goldsmith said, you can't eat your way into heaven. All right?
Then also, it's my understanding that like when people do havans, I think someone somewhere, some pujari or someone has told me this. When they do havans and they do these pujas, often they end the havan with some sort of disclaimer to the god, wherein, oh please forgive me if I've done something wrong, if I've pronounced something wrong, if I've...
Sure.
So would that suffice for a layman You know what I'm saying? Would that suffice for a layman doing the same thing in the same case?
What's the disclaimer?
Huh?
What's the disclaimer?
Yeah.
Tomorrow you go murder the one you hate and say, please forgive me if I've done something wrong. Actions have consequences.
No, but there the intention is wrong, right? Here the intention is you think you're saying the prayer perfectly, but you may not be for whatever reason. Just like the pujari says it.
Look, a prayer is one thing which is coming from the heart. There's no perfection needed in that. You specified mantra. Mantra chanting is a science.
It's just, okay.
Okay?
The distinction.
It's a different thing.
Understood.
So, Sheetal, can you close by singing something for us? Or? So everyone is welcome to come with us in the evening to the Adi Anamala temple where we'll be sitting for about 20 minutes in the courtyard, looking at the mountain. For me, it's I love the view because I see the elephant trunk of Ganesha. And Adi Anamalai, Adi is the first. It is the first temple that was established in Tiruvannamalai. It is believed that there is a tunnel running from that temple to the main temple. And it is also believed that there was a tunnel from Adi Anamalai temple to the mountain, which Bhagwan had closed because he said the world is not ready to go in there yet. Am I right? So you know I'm not bluffing. But please don't bother looking for that. Everyone goes there and asks the priest, where is that? Where is that? And he gives different answers every time.
Since there's a portal in the temple.
There's a portal.
They closed it, but it's an ideal place for it. And then,
share a little about.
Sure.
So this one is a Meera bhajan. No? This one's a Meera bhajan. It's called Payo Ji Maine. And I just want to share a little experience. Like last 3 days that we've been here, there's been so many insights. There's been so much beauty that has emerged. And that's a treasure that I carry. So this song is similar. It's saying there's a treasure that I've received. And it's so precious and nobody can steal it from me. It will never decay. In fact, the more I give, the more it grows. And she's using the context of the Naam, also said Ram. Until he plugs it, there's a refrain, Payo Ji Maine, Naam Ratan Dhan Payo. If you feel like joining in at that part, please do. जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो यो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो वस्तु अमालिक दी मेरे सतगुरु वस्तु अमालिक भी मेरे सतगुरु कृपा कर अपनायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई। जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई। जग में सभी घुमायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। खर्च न फूटे चोर न लूटे। खर्च न फूटे चोर न लूटे। दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु। सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु। भव सागर तरवायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर। मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर। हर्ष हर्ष जस गायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो। पायो जी मैंने नाम रतन धन पायो।
Thank you. Beautiful.
If I may, one of my teachers says actually that the best songs are those that leave you in silence rather than, so if there's an ah, it's better than a wah. So a true gift you can, is not to, like if you're feeling a vibration, not to come out of it so quickly. So just want to share that.
The best song is one that leads to silence.
That takes you into ah rather than wah.
Yeah.
And that ah, if it's quiet, even better.
Yeah, but appreciation comes naturally also.
The things that we are meeting, they are in the awareness state all the time, and people like normally like me who is approaching the jnani comes with a consciousness wherein which the world is as true, and I'm sitting in front of the jnani and I'm having my doubt and I'm asking him. So the jnani says that you just see who am I, like what Bhavan says. Just be still in the awareness try to be in the awareness. Whenever the consciousness comes, just try to be subconscious at that state and we stay there in the awareness. And a normal man is traveling in all three states in a day to night. He is in the waking state and goes to sleeping state and goes to dream state. It all happens and it revolves. So, from the books and from the preachings, I can understand that the consciousness comes to me whenever I am getting disturbed, and I try to react to the situation. So it comes from my consciousness. So in order to be in my awareness, I can clearly understand that whatever that it goes even now, it is from me and I am the one who is doing all these things. It is created from me because of my consciousness. It all happens. But still I could see everything is dual. So when I'm going to the sleeping state, I try to concentrate on awareness so that to avoid the day and night to me. But I'm failing every time. So I'm confirming that I'm still operating with my knowledge. So I'm unable to go to the deeper stage wherein which to see everything as just a happening, just like happening, and just see and accept as it is.
Yes.
So it comes through mere practice or the bonding which is happening every time, every fraction of second with the incident. That bonding will goes away by the practice. What I need to do for that, sir.
This is precisely what we spoke about for 2 days. If we are trying to achieve self-realization as a practice, but our peace of mind is constantly disturbed in the waking state, it is next to impossible. Once we resolve and find our peace in daily living, when the thinking mind is quietened down, when rather than reacting, we are responding to situations, the ground of being is being prepared for that state for which you are practicing. Otherwise, you will be in a daily living state of disharmony, failed relationships, action-reaction loop, non-accepting situations, and all these various things which create this vibration of restlessness. So the first task is to sort out this daily living, waking state, and why there is conflict and how to minimize the conflict. Because we are not leaving everything behind and running to a jnani or something. We are operating in the world.
Exactly.
We have to deal with people. We have to deal with situations. So what happens is you find that rather than focusing on a sadhana which is driven to a future goal of self-realization, while the rest of my life is a mess like it was, I have resolved my relationship with daily living. Therefore, my mind is at peace. I am more witnessing the flow of life rather than reacting to it. Now the ground is prepared for deeper realization. Otherwise, it's too big a struggle. Now the simple-minded people who went to jnanis, who could not even do the sadhana of self-realization, when they were near Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi as an example, what could they do? They served him. One cooked food, one moved the fan. Why? They benefited equally without sadhana. Theirs was a total surrender. All they needed was to be in the presence of the jnani. In the presence of the jnani, the transmission took place. So, my earnest request to you is practice the sadhana, whatever it is, but please look at what is taking away your peace in daily living. Because as I said on the first day, Bhagwan himself said, he was speaking about equanimity in daily living, not in samadhi. He said the state of equanimity is the state of bliss. So we have to be equanimous in daily living. We are all equanimous in the deep sleep state. We don't have to do any work there.
Sure.
So the focus must be to understand what is life about, what is my relationship with life. The structure of life is duality of every conceivable kind, but I am buffeted all the time between pleasure and pain and between good and evil. What is this? Why am I being buffeted like this? Why is my pendulum swinging wildly from left to right? Then I find by and by, I am coming to the middle path. The middle path where the pendulum is no longer swinging. I no longer get agitated by what people say, things they do, including myself. And that center of peace is being found because I am out of this game of duality based on doership. Then I find grace is supporting me like you cannot imagine. But for that, the thinking mind, which is the ego with its sense of doership, must be first annihilated. So it is simple living, simple thinking. If you see historically our sages, three I can mention: Ramana Maharshi, Sri Aurobindo, Ramakrishna Paramhans. The devotees around them were of the highest caliber. Many of them realized. But all of them, most of them were simple people, uneducated. You know, I was wondering about one question because it comes very often in this virtual world of YouTube and all that stuff. That supposing someone is 1,000 miles away and someone is next to a jnani or a master, is there any difference? Is there any difference between what the enlightened master will deliver to a disciple who has seen him on YouTube 1,000 miles away? Or if the disciple is living with him, like in Bhagwan's time, they were all there. I could not find, for me, there was a missing piece of the puzzle as far as this question was concerned. And I got the answer when a disciple of a Sufi master called Bhai Sahib asked him the same question. One of his disciples was in Italy, and this lady had come to live with him. And she asked him, is there any difference between so-and-so who's living in Italy as your disciple and me who has left everything to be next to you? He said, in terms of giving, no difference. But there is still a difference. He says the difference is at a distance, the disciple, what is a disciple? Someone who follows the teaching of a master. A devotee is not a disciple. So at a distance, a disciple has the full potential and full opportunity to be the perfect disciple. But in proximity, physical proximity, the disciple has the opportunity to become a master. Why? Because the jnani's body, the Atman is from head to foot, as he says. It is a field of vibration. So it no longer depends on your intellect, your capacity to understand teachings, to self-investigate. You have brought yourself, just like Arunachala has pulled all of us here, you have brought your body-mind apparatus in the field, sannidhi. Sannidhi is the field of presence. That does the job. And better we come with an open book rather than the garbage which is in our thinking minds and going and sitting with the jnani. So this sannidhi, this field, is the one which is taking care of everything. Like the mountain is as an example. But let us offer ourselves to it. That is why that famous story of that lady who got a son who was ailing to Bhagwan and he got cured. Everyone said, miracle, miracle. And Bhagwan himself said, sorry, let me rectify this right now. A miracle would be if I could cure everyone's children, which I can't. This boy, I did not even have a sankalpa to cure him. There was not even a wish that the boy be cured, yet the boy got cured. Why? Because he was brought into the field of presence. It is the presence that effected the cure as per this boy's destiny. I had nothing to do with it. So this field has tremendous significance. Cannot be understood by the mind. The mind only doubts, complains, I'm not progressing enough in my practice. Am I not practicing enough? How do I reach that state? So therefore, let daily living be your teacher. Take each day as it comes. See your relationship with it. Understand it. Find your peace where you can find it. That becomes your teacher. Then you are already in the field. Then you are already in the field. Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, is the field. Or you live your life complaining till you die.
Great. Great, thank you. So I have taken Bhagavan as my guru some 17 years back, and my mind is not thrust for any physical guru so far. It's not there. And I have accepted him as my guru. And whoever comes along the way, like I'm meeting you today, that Bhagavan is talking to me through you. That's the way that I'm practicing.
Fair enough.
That's right way, sir, to do it?
Yes, for you it is the right way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
For someone else, it may not be that way.
Great.
Someone else may need a physical guru's intervention. As long as you know the answer to one question, is my surrender to Bhagwan total? Is my surrender to Bhagwan total? For example, in Sai Baba's case, one devotee said, you never come to my home. Will you come? He said, I'll come at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Please lay out a lavish meal for me. And she does that. She prepares throughout the day various dishes and is waiting for him. He doesn't show up. So she is extremely hurt and disappointed, and he shows up the next day. She is upset. You didn't come. I made all the food. He said, I came. I came at 4 p.m. I was outside your house barking for my food, but you didn't give it to me. Now, if Sai Baba's teaching is, see me in everyone, okay, what is surrender? Living this teaching. He said, you differentiated between the dog and me. I came to your house. So is the surrender to Bhagwan, who I have never met in the flesh, total? That you will know. Because if it is total, then it means one is established in peace and harmony. If it is not total, it means one is not established. All right. For those who are leaving after this satsang, I wish you well on your respective journeys, wherever you all are going. And I'd like to thank Sangeeta, Meenakshi, and Aritra, who have supported and facilitated, made the arrangements, dealt with everyone's pain bodies, and managed to make things flow extremely smoothly. And for the rest who are not going, you are welcome to come for the afternoon meditation, silent half-an-hour meditation, and the trip to Adiyanamalai temple. And our last session will be the half-an-hour session after dinner in the evening.